right now with the free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Vice President Kamala Harris delivered the keynote address this afternoon to graduates of the Naval Academy in Maryland, telling them we must make advances in things they've been learning.
Things like quantum computing and artificial intelligence and robotics and things that will put our nation at a strategic advantage.
Harris was the Academy's first female commencement speaker in its history. A planned $11 billion rail tunnel seen as a key to train travel along the northeastern U.S. has gotten federal environmental approval. This means the project that would build a new Hudson River tunnel that would connect New York and New Jersey can move forward with engineering and design work. Once construction on the new tunnel begins, it could take up to 7 years to complete. Memorial Day weekend means the Indy 500 is back with some spectators this year.
1 year since the only noise at the Indianapolis 500 got generated by the cars in the race. Sunday, there will be voices of 135,000 in attendance at Indianapolis Motor Speedway as the track welcomes back fans to the traditional Memorial Day weekend race. 135,000 people at a sporting event might sound like a packed house, but it's actually only 40% capacity. It's sold out. Indianapolis Motor Speedway will require spectators at the 105th Indy 500 to be seated with social distance and to wear masks while not eating or drinking. 33 drivers scheduled to race 200 laps for a total of 500 miles. The race starts 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday. Scott Dick.
After the USDA unveiled its updated roommate food pyramid earlier this week, Department of Agriculture spokesman Michael Lowry spoke to Onion reporters about just how many servings of someone else's food roommates should be consuming on a day-to-day basis.
Under the new guidelines, roommates should eat at least 4 portions of someone else's grains per day, including 1 to 2 cups of already opened cereal. Of course, this is all in addition to the 8 to 16 swigs of milk and orange juice spaced out over a few days.
Lowry emphasized that many aspects of the new roommate food pyramid are unchanged from the previous version, including a recommended daily intake of 24 ounces of lunch meat straight from the bag and 5 to 7 weekly finger scoops of Erica's peanut butter.
Remember to limit your intake of sugar and sweets from half-open containers, especially if they're Jessica's, because she'll definitely notice.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
A new report from the National Center for Education shows that an alarming 10% of U.S. high school students graduate without basic object permanence skills. According to the study, a growing number of American seniors are lagging behind their international counterparts when it comes to the crucial knowledge that things don't just disappear if you're not looking at them.
Because it exists even if your eyes can't see it. Am I making sense?
No. U.S. high schoolers have dropped to 17th in science, 25th in math, and a troubling 180th place in the basic cognitive awareness most humans develop as toddlers. Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan is asking Congress to fund increased after-school disguise and reveal programs.
It's time to get the kids excited to learn the most obvious mental concepts that make us capable of functioning.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do better. It's just I don't know how I'm supposed to learn anything if I don't even have a teacher.
I'm still here, Vanessa.
Some educators worry that too much focus placed on object permanence might take away from other important skills, such as not touching hot things that could burn you.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hello, greetings, salutations, and other assorted musings that denote a greeting of some sort. It is Free Talk Live. If you've never heard the show before, we are a live radio broadcast nationwide. Well, we're syndicated nationally. Also globally on the internet. You can hear us over at freetalklive.com. And there's a couple of satellite stations that carry us as well. And we are kicking off hour number 1 of the Friday night edition. I am your host. People call me Captain, but my title is officially or unofficially the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass. And joining me in the studio, it's
Chris.
And Bonnie.
Nice inflection, Bonnie. Some of our listeners be very proud. So we got to sit in a Zoom session today that was presented by, well, the federal court, right? So even though I think the judge was New Hampshire based, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's like the District of New Hampshire, but at like the federal level or something.
New Hampshire. I need a new hamper, by the way. My current hamper's falling apart.
They have some at Aldi's that are on sale.
Oh, nice. Before we go on, I should mention, since I said that this is a call-in show, if you would like to call in, why, you need to dial 603-283-6160 if you want to join our conversation. We generally try to bring you the perspective of freedom and peace and prosperity, generally speaking. Some folks would call us a libertarian talk radio show or an anarchist talk radio show as far as political leanings are concerned. I consider myself an individualist, if you will, a voluntarist, if you will. I believe that all human interactions should be voluntary and consensual.
I'm a peace nun.
You are a peace nun. Chris, what are you?
Labels. I don't know. I don't necessarily know I need to label myself like that. But I definitely would lean in the way of the non-aggression principle and advocating peace and, not utilizing violence or advocating for violence to achieve social and political change. I'd rather see that, done through leadership and,
yes,
voicing criticism of my people who differ from my personal beliefs in order to lead the way to change.
So those of you who don't know, on March 16th of this year, it was a Tuesday, the Free Talk Live studio that we're broadcasting from was raided by, tyrants, really, who call themselves the government. And 6 people were arrested. They raided not only here, but they also raided the Mighty Moose Mart, which is a convenience store. They raided the Bitcoin Embassy, which is exactly what it sounds like it is. And then the homes of several people. And 6 folks were arrested. We refer to these people as the Crypto 6. But this very studio that we're broadcasting to you from was raided by these people.
AKA my house.
Yes. There are folks that live here, too, so we broadcast from this building, and there are people who rent either rooms or there's another side that also is an apartment and that kind of a thing. All of these people were disturbed and otherwise tyrannized. I can't think of a better word for it. And 5 of the 6 of them are out. 4 of them were released rather quickly on some sort of bail conditions. Ian Freeman, the founder of this program, or one of the 2 founders, just got out a couple of days ago. So they kept him for 69 days without any conviction or anything like that. So I can safely say that innocent until proven guilty doesn't apply here in the United States of America. And today we all got to witness via the Zoom meeting a co-host here on Free Talk Live who goes by the name Nobody. Now, he legally changed his name to Nobody at some point a couple of years ago now, because he was running for governor here in the state of New Hampshire, and he wanted to make a play on the words "nobody" for governor, which I think is brilliant.
Nobody should tell you what to do.
Yeah, nobody has your best interest in mind when it comes to the government and that type of a thing. So we have a lot of fun with that tongue-in-cheek, but he did legally change his name, and so we actually got to see today, before the Zoom meeting started, they had like a landing page, and it said, "Nobody versus the United States of America."
Yeah, that was just hilarious.
And I got to get one more chuckle out of that particular trope.
My favorite is, nobody should have that kind of power.
Yeah, true. That is a fact. So they had this, it was a bail hearing. They had it via Zoom. I didn't get a maximum count. At one point I looked up, I think there was like 36 people on this meeting. And, there was a judge, there was a couple of lawyers for Nobody, and a few lawyers and other personnel for the prosecution. So,
Nobody
I don't
had
know.
3 lawyers.
Yeah, so take 3, 4, 5, so let's say 7 people that, were there in an official capacity. The rest of the people, the other 30 or so people, were spectators because these things are supposed to be open to the public normally. And the reason that they have to have these, or that they do have these via Zoom session online, is what they say due to COVID. Right? So they're like, oh, we can't have a bunch of people get together in a room, and so we're just going to have these things online now.
During the pandemic.
I'm still amazed that was the choice of words of the judge to describe the people who were from the public, basically watching the trial.
What did he call them?
Spectators. And I don't know. He couldn't have picked a better word to use.
Because it seems like people watching a circus.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely was a circus.
I mean, for so many reasons, it just is like the worst choice of words. And this was actually Ian's trial, or hearing, that the judge used it. So this was a different judge today for nobody, but
it was,
the choice of word that you used was clearly referencing back to Ian's, the judge in Ian's case, because he used that exact word.
Yeah. So, I had a little bit of fun, with that landing page before the actual session began, and then the session kicked off, whatever you want to term you use for that. And I don't know, man, like it could have gone a lot better, I think, at least for nobody. If I were nobody, I would have taken the lawyer's advice and not testified at my own bail hearing.
That was a judge who advised him not to, I think, and his lawyer said it was okay.
Well, no, so
unless there's a lawyer behind the scenes.
The judge advised him not to after. So behind the scenes, the lawyer, of course, was like, "Hey, you shouldn't do this," and nobody was like, "No, I want to."
I think nobody did a great job for any reasonable, logical person. It's just that anything you say can and will be used against you. Yeah. But nobody is so well-spoken. He is not, went dim since he's been in jail. He's a preacher.
It is true. And the legend has it that while he's been behind bars in Merrimack County Jail here in New Hampshire, that he has been preaching, and he has acquired some followers from the people that he's met, or at least some people who are interested in what he has to say about, freedom and voluntary interactions and all that kind of a thing.
Yeah, apparently it's actually funny because apparently the warden, was it the warden? Whoever their head is, I believe it was, actually was not happy about some of that preaching that he was doing. So
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
One thing that was kind of funny that nobody said was at the beginning, the judge always has to say in these Zoom meetings, nobody in the public spectating is allowed to record this and you'll be prosecuted.
Oh, it's funny. So
to the greatest extent of law.
Nobody's allowed to record it.
Well, and then nobody said, actually, can I chime in? I'd like to say that I would like people to record and distribute this in the interest of a public and speedy trial. And the judge was like, okay, but we don't allow that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, he was basically shot down with his request. But I am not aware of anybody in a court trial where folks are being told they can't record to have the guy who's being railroaded request for it to be recorded. Right. I thought that was fun. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Phone records, financial and location data, Prism, Tempora, X-Keyscore, Boundless Informant. Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here for offnow.org. Now, here's the deal. Due to the Snowden revelations, we have a great opportunity for a short period of time to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now, they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy, but the Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. We are the live radio call-in program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is your mind. The telephone number for you to join us is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, I am your host, the Captain, and joining me,
Chris.
And Bonnie.
We haven't really started talking about any of our show prep other than that we have attended the trial, the bail hearing, if you will, not trial, but the bail hearing for former co-host, and I say former because, well, he's in jail. If he was not in jail, he would be welcome to co-host again. Here on Free Talk Live, a man who goes by the name of Nobody. He legally changed his name to Nobody to run for governor, and he has been arrested as part of the indictment against what we call the Crypto Six. That's 3 people who have been accused of nothing that harmed anybody or any property. Crimes of exchanging cryptocurrency.
Slanging crypto.
Yeah. To people who voluntarily wished to exchange it. And so they're in jail for that. Yep. Or they were in jail, but they've all been indicted at the federal level.
Yeah, and the humorous thing is they didn't do anything that probably thousands of people throughout New Hampshire do, every day. So
Yeah, well, and throughout the world, really. I mean, cryptocurrency is a huge thing now.
Yeah, true. Certainly throughout the world, but particularly in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And
so we all sat in on this Zoom session. I think separately. You were somewhere else. She was somewhere. I was at my house watching. General thoughts. I thought we were talking about things that we found, odd or funny. One of the things I found weird was when the judge was reading something towards the end of the session.
His decision.
He was fine saying the S word, but he couldn't say MFer.
I thought the same thing. That's so funny.
Right? Like he was reading through the thing and he'd come across the S word, and he would say that loudly and clearly over the Zoom session. But for whatever reason, when it said, MFer, he said MFer instead of the actual words that I'm referring to that I can't say on the radio.
So funny you thought about that, because I thought the same thing. I was like, why is he doing that?
I'm a cussing enthusiast. That means I'm a hobbyist and I enjoy cussing. I encourage other people to cuss whenever possible, with the exception of here on this radio show because, well, we are broadcast over actual radio stations, and that means that we are subject to the FCC rules that say you can't say certain words that they think are bad. So that's where we're at with that. What else did you guys notice, or anything odd or interesting?
I have something maybe more important and not odd or interesting to talk about, but I mean, we have the caller and it's going to take me a while.
All right. Anything else about and we can come back to it too.
There was lots of interesting aspects, I think, of this particular hearing and what went down.
Let's hold on to that and let's go to Tom, who's calling from New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, good evening. It was 7 years ago today that the Habersham County Sheriff's Department threw the flash grenade into the playpen where Bunkum Fonasavan was peacefully sleeping.
Oh, that's 7 years today?
Burned. But it was 5 years ago today, the incident at the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden in Ohio, where Harambe the gorilla was killed. You may recall that there was a little boy who was in the wrong intruding into the gorilla's enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch the video, it is kind of scary, and you might be really worried, what is the gorilla going to do to the little boy? And a decision was made that, and later reviewed and confirmed, because it was happening while it was happening, and people were all excited and worried about it. Then they reviewed it and confirmed that yes, they're going to kill the western lowland gorilla because they're not sure what he might do to the human being who was in the wrong.
What do you mean in the wrong? Like, a child doesn't have the cognizant ability to know I shouldn't go in here. He just is a child. So silly that you're saying he was in the wrong.
Now, compare that to 24 August 1997 in Epsom, New Hampshire, where two men were sleeping in a parked car. And the Epsom cop walked up there to start trouble and confronted the driver. Achtung, where are your papers? You there, get out of the wagon. Schnell, put the hands on the wagon right now, and I will search you for weapons. The passenger, Gordon Perry, drew the line there. Enough is enough. And he emerged. Let's just say that the Bill of Rights never got through that cop's head, but a bullet did. Because the passenger was not sure what the cop might do to the human who was in the right, the human who was doing nothing wrong. Okay, if it's okay to put down a western lowland gorilla when you're not sure what he might do to a human being, what's wrong with putting down a cop when you're not sure what it might do to a human being?
Because we're human, civilized creatures with words. You don't just shoot someone because they come up to you and ask for your papers, even if they're annoying you.
No, they're violating somebody's rights.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the
this
Second
is...
Amendment right
Yeah,
to keep and bear
but
arms.
one thing you libertarians need to understand is sometimes people's feelings are more important than a minor violation of your rights, including that cop's family who he didn't get to go home to. If he was going to shoot them for sleeping in the car, okay. If he's asking you for your papers, you don't shoot a cop.
Yeah, in self-defense, if it's a self-defense thing, then that's clearly covered in the non-aggression principle. You have the right to defend yourself against aggression. And in fact, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about in the hearing about nobody, and I'll come back to that. Remind me about that.
Sure.
Because I want to come back to that. So Tom, you're comparing what happened to two people sleeping in a car when a cop came up to see what was going on to what happened in a zoo where a boy wandered into the cage with Harambe.
Yeah, I mean, if it's okay to kill a western lowland gorilla because you're scared about what he might do to a human being, what's wrong with putting down a cop when you're not sure what it might do to a human being? So what if the cop has a family? I mean,
a cop isn't a gorilla.
Yeah,
I mean, people are barely not
matter.
apes, but people do have the ability to rationalize, to communicate verbally, that kind of a thing. You should always attempt to do that first.
I also don't think that they should have killed Harambe if they had the ability to shoot him with like a dart that could have put him to sleep.
Like a tranquilizer.
I don't know
or
if they
something.
didn't have that for some reason. They should at a zoo.
So then, Tom, let me redirect a question to you. I don't think anybody really ever knows what a cop might do to them. And so is it your position that you would have them all put down?
Well, I would never advocate, solicit, order, or otherwise attempt to persuade anybody to do such a thing. I only talk about cases that actually have happened.
Okay, well, thanks for the call tonight, Tom. We appreciate it. It's an interesting analogy that he's put together. I'm not sure he's comparing apples to apples, if you were.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
603-283-6160 is the number if you want to comment.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999. And ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
You know, when I was young, there were talk shows on generally the AM radio spectrum, and somehow over the time they moved to FM, and now they're kind of hit and miss depending on what you listen to generally in your car. Do people listen to the radio in their homes anymore?
I know my dad does.
Really?
He listens to like Michael Savage. I don't know if he quit.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, we are a radio program. We are syndicated nationwide on somewhere near 200 radio stations, but we're also on the internet over at freetalklive.com and a couple of satellite stations as well. So folks around the globe can hear us. I don't care where you are. If you want to get your voice on this program, dial 603-283-6160. And as long as it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern time, we're here, generally speaking. There's only maybe twice a year that something goes on. Like there's a couple of festivals where we'll probably be off the air. As far as a live show is concerned, we'll still have fresh content every day. But, like for those festivals, the content will be pre-recorded. Other than that, we're live 7 days a week, 7 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern. So give a call if there's something on your mind and you want to get your voice out there and heard by a very large audience. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
And we've been talking about one of the Crypto 6. If you don't know what the Crypto 6 is, I'm going to tell you. On March 16th of 2021, tyrants, calling themselves government agencies, conspired together and raided the Free Talk Live studio, where we're broadcasting from today, the Bitcoin Embassy, and the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Renee and Andy Spinella, and Colleen Fordham. 6 people in total were arrested. They were put behind bars in cages, kidnapped, if you will, and 4 of them were released relatively quickly. Ian Freeman, co-founder of this program, if not the founder, was kept for 69 days, and he was finally released. But the person named Nobody remains in custody. What can you do to help? Well, the first thing you can do is visit thecrypto6.com. There's some information up there. There's links to different places. There's a video you can watch about the events that happened that day. And there's also multiple ways in which you can donate to the Legal Defense Fund, because the charges these people face are not a joke. You can go and search in your favorite search engine, indictment Ian Freeman, and find the full indictment against the Crypto 6 if you want to read the exact specific charges that everybody's facing. But the charges are not a laughing matter at all. This case is likely to set precedent that's going to affect the world of cryptocurrency for decades to come. You can help in their fight for liberty and financial freedom by visiting thecrypto6.com. Again, thecrypto6.com. So in the last segment, I said I wanted to come back to a thing, and the prosecutor had, first of all, they had taken a recording of a phone call that nobody made to a friend of his from jail, and they chopped it up into little bits that sounded really bad. Now, they said they made the full recording available to the court. They have not made that available to the public, or at least, I don't know where I would go to find the full recording, if that's even available to the public. So they played these little bits, and then the prosecutor, tried to pigeonhole nobody by asking him a series of questions related to the non-aggression principle, and a comment that he made about, I believe the quote was "shooting pigs," was the quote that the prosecutor was talking about. And the prosecutor asked him point blank, do you think that those words are a violation of the non-aggression principle? I would have said, technically, no.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Whereas nobody, I think he alluded to that he agreed that might be a violation of the non-aggression principle. I would have said technically no, because the state is aggression. The state is force.
Right.
And the state is always aggressing upon people. Now, who actually carries out the state's aggressive orders? It's the police, of course. They're the enforcement arm. They're the ones with the guns, right? So, it can be any day of the week. And just the fact that somebody is a police officer puts them in the position where they are the armed aggressors of the state. They're not protectors of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness like the government would have you believe through their public school indoctrination program. They are the enforcement arm of the elite ruling class. And so just by their very existence, and they're swearing to uphold the law. They're not swearing to uphold what is morally correct. They're swearing to uphold the letter of the law. And so if they actually do that, then they in themselves are the aggressors. And it would be not a very big stretch to say that because they are the aggressors, that shooting them might be within the confines of the non-aggression principle. I've heard that argument from libertarians before.
Yeah, and I think the way to have phrased it would have been a bit different than he did, and I think it's not so much that it wouldn't be. It would be violence under. I think it would be violence under non-aggression principle, but it wouldn't. It would be in self-defense,
right?
And that would be potentially justified,
right?
However, that doesn't necessarily mean it would be the strategically smart thing to do.
Correct. Yes.
And that's why I would not necessarily advocate for that, even if you are within your right to do so.
Right. To be clear, I'm not advocating for that either. I'm just saying that, for example, if a foreign army invades your hometown and takes over, right? Well, you'd be within your right to fight back because they're aggressing on your hometown, right? That would be a self-defense maneuver.
Sure.
Right? And so the same thing could apply here. It could be considered self-defense because the state is aggression.
Are they actively attacking you, or are they knocking on your window and asking for your papers? Because if an army is moving in, they're attacking you, they're busting down doors.
So it's a matter of, are they directly attacking you person to person, or are they attacking everybody because they exist as organized aggression?
And here's a third thing I've been thinking about recently is, are the police attacking you, or are they victims? Because to me, I believe that my dad is a victim of the military. I mean, of the government through being in the military. It's not like it wasn't a personal choice or something, but the government is the actual aggressors, and then they're hiring these extra Y chromosome people who are already brainwashed by their system with low IQs and having them do their dirty work. It's not that those people have their hands washed of anything, but I still feel that they're less of like the aggressor in most cases.
Less culpable.
Yeah.
That's probably what you're looking for.
I mean,
I think it's probably a fair statement. It's you can be both a victim of the government and also pressed into victimizing other people.
Right.
So
yeah, when I came out of the fog of statism, I realized a whole bunch of things that I had done throughout my life were incorrect, or at least morally incongruent.
Me too. Like, I've called the police and I've been like, why'd I do that?
You could say every one of us is an aggressor against our fellow man because, well, at least to the extent that we pay taxes. And it's going to be really hard to say that you don't pay taxes in some form,
Yeah, so
whether it's
should
sales
someone-
taxes or, property taxes or, indirectly property taxes through your rent.
Right.
Would somebody be in the right if they shot you because you've paid taxes before?
Right. And that's why it kind of becomes this thing, I think, under duress.
Well, but you're not the institution, right? The institution is where the taxation comes from.
I mean, the problem with cops is that they're doing it voluntarily for a paycheck that they don't have to take.
So the better question is, would you be in the right to take aim at the IRS, for example?
Well, yeah, but hold on. We're about to go into break.
603-283-6160. Where do you stand when it comes to defending yourself from the aggression of the state? More Free Talk Live is on the way.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out. So you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
The telephone number 603-283-6160 is the number you need to commit to memory. You can grab a crayon right on the fridge, grab a chisel, carve it into a stone tablet, tattoo it onto your firstborn's forehead so you see it all the time, whatever you got to do. But that's the telephone number to call and get your voice heard on this radio program. We are Free Talk Live. I am your host tonight, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Chris.
And Bonnie.
We've been talking a little bit about the events that happened today surrounding one of the Crypto Six, a person known as Nobody, who had a bail hearing today. He's been a hostage for well over 2 months now, and he was denied bail. That's the outcome. I know a lot of folks who didn't get a chance to see the hearing or otherwise, find out on social media or what have you. You're finding out now. So the outcome is that he was denied bail, and we expect an appeal. Now, the appeal process, we don't know how long that'll take. We saw with Ian, it took, almost 6 weeks? Thereabouts? Several
Sounds
weeks
about right.
at least. So he could be on the inside for some additional period of time.
If I recall correctly, wasn't it like 6 months before Christopher Cantwell got an appeal on his original bail hearing?
That was in the midst of COVID, though.
Okay, so maybe it'll be faster.
Yeah, I don't recall the actual timing on that.
I thought it was a really long period.
I've heard that too.
And I don't recall exactly the details, but I just remember same type of situation. It was a federal case, and it was a really long time between the first bail hearing and being denied, and then the second one. He was denied twice.
Yeah. The thing about Nobody's case is that they cited some controversial things that he said in a phone call to a friend of his. They didn't cite anything that he said like as a talk radio host or, as he was running for governor of New Hampshire.
They did. One thing I think that was on Twitter.
They did bring the Twitter that
they did. It was obviously a
joke.
It wasn't a serious, he wasn't advocating. It was clear that he wasn't advocating for violence.
He asked a question.
Right. And it was
an obvious hyperbole. It was like saying tar and feathers. Nobody does that.
Exactly. It was specifically, it was about the guillotine. So he said, I forget exactly, I can't quote him off the top of my head, but
where's the guillotine?
Yeah, it was something like, where's the guillotines, And it was obvious that he wasn't actually advocating violence, because, think about this. You're even if you build a guillotine, and people have built guillotines, by the way, but you don't see police going and arresting the people who built the guillotines, even though it's to send a message and it's often used for politics. And when people go out and they do protests, they will bring the guillotine because the point is to send a message.
Right.
It's not to actually start chopping people's heads off.
I had tossed around the idea of building a fake guillotine to take to a protest and put it up just as a visual, a visual aid, if you will, call it protest art.
Right. This isn't the 1800s. When was the last time anybody actually used guillotines at some sort of
In fact, I was
to chop off politicians' heads.
Right. I was at a protest. I think it was the Concord. I don't remember which one because I was at two of them before the whole COVID thing. But somebody had a bucket or two buckets. One was labeled tar. The other one was labeled feathers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be that kind of a prop, if you will.
Right.
To add impact to your demonstration, to your political point of view and that kind of a thing.
And visuals are important like that.
And the other thing I want to mention specifically about Nobody is because he's got a couple of years on me, but we're about the same age. He and I come from the era where shock jocks were a thing. right? You were to be controversial for the sake of being controversial on the radio. And so, that's kind of, how I think nobody has molded himself as a talk radio host. Now, as far as my interactions with him on this show, I've never really heard him come out and say, I'm going to, go out and start shooting people, or I advocate that, this happens now, these kinds of things. So I can't say that I've ever, heard him actually call for violence.
Yeah, what he does is he says things that can be misinterpreted and are can be a bit cringeworthy, because that the people who are basically enemies of freedom are going to twist it into something violent.
Right.
But he's not saying anything violent. But that's how they're going to. And what did they do? They did exactly that in the courtroom. Today.
What you guys are talking about is more like the tweet while he was out of jail and everything, and he tweeted an obviously hyperbolic thing. But here's what I think the worst part of this whole thing was.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they can arrest you in the middle of the night and put you in a cage for 23 hours a day with only one other person who he said is also ADHD and going crazy.
Yeah.
And put you into a different state.
Worse than solitary confinement.
Yep. Wait, hold on one second. They can put you into an altered state of mind and force you to become depressed, and then use those words against you that you say in that state of mind while they're being unfair towards you, and use that as proof that you want to hurt them.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think people need to understand that they deprived him of his right to a lawyer in the process during those 14 days. So I think this is something to, be, to look at within context and be like, okay, so they've basically created a situation where the guy seems like he thinks he doesn't have any rights, he doesn't have any freedoms, and they're violating, the very fundamentals of what it means. And why would somebody who is under this impression that we don't really have what they're claiming, why would you not think that overthrow of the government is the right answer? What other option is there at that point? If the government isn't if they're not abiding by their own rules and laws that they're creating, constitutionally anyway speaking, we don't actually have, the government that we supposedly have. And therefore it's exactly what's in the founding, documents, that you're supposed to overthrow the government.
Somebody in the chat room has commented, says, I would have had to ask, what does killing the police have to do with the charges he faces of money laundering or a money transmission business? They don't. And it has nothing. They make a great point.
This is what the court would say. They have an obligation to protect officers, and they're trying to assess whether or not nobody is a threat to the public. Anybody that knows nobody even remotely knows he's not a threat to the public.
Yeah.
And
he certainly is not.
So I think one of the problems here too is that this is like, even if you don't know him, that doesn't necessarily mean that a conversation there was no direct threat in any of the words that he used. He used words he used the way he worded it was not in a way that it was at most it could be misinterpreted as a general threat maybe, but even that is stretching it, because there was no threat to any specific person.
Right.
It was more of
they were all generalized statements.
Feeling like the cops should die is not the same thing as advocating for cops dying, right? Or killing cops.
Right.
And it's like they twisted I feel like the cops should die into him saying that he's going to kill cops. And that just wasn't, that isn't really what was said.
Bonnie, you said something about, the prosecution or the court saying that...
they have an obligation to protect law enforcement.
Right, but that he is a threat to the public. You know what a threat to the public is? It's the number of laws that get created every year that pile on top of each other. There's so many laws that... they're impossible to count. They've tried. You cannot count all of the laws that exist in the United States of America. It is impossible. Laws never get repealed. They never get rolled back. They never get taken off the books. They just continue to build and build and build and build to such a point where your entire life is micromanaged by the state. And this is a form of overt aggression. That is the real threat to the public, is the state themselves.
Yeah. And you know something else I want to point out? 53 years and nobody was accusing him of ever having actually been violent. Right. That's just the thing. They didn't accuse him of having a history of violence. And therefore, to interpret this, this private conversation, as a threat when there was no request to communicate a threat, there was no threat, direct or really indirect, given it was private communication between two people, is just insane.
603-283-6160. What is your stance? Is the state a greater threat to the public than a talk radio host? More Free Talk Live coming up.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com. There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Blocked. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Republicans have prevented a bill that would have created a commission to investigate the January attack on the Capitol from moving forward.
A House-passed bill establishing the 10-member bipartisan independent commission to investigate the January 6th Capitol breach stalled in the Senate, falling 6 votes short of the 60 needed for the Senate to consider the bill.
I'm just terribly disappointed that so many Republicans refuse to even look at a bipartisan, down-the-middle look at it.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says Republican lawmakers are afraid of former President Trump, who has criticized the proposal as a Democrat trap. 6 Republicans joined Democrats to try to advance the legislation. GOP leaders were opposed, questioning the need for an additional panel with ongoing investigations in Congress and the Justice Department. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
After that measure failed, Senator Schumer set up a June vote on an elections overhaul bill. The measure is a priority for Democrats that confronts new voting laws passed in some states after the 2020 election that some have called restrictive. A jury in Iowa has found farm worker Christian Bahena Rivera guilty of murder in the abduction and killing of Molly Tibbetts, who disappeared while out for a run in 2018.
He now faces life
life in prison without the possibility of parole, the sentencing scheduled for July. One of the most notable moments of this trial, really the shock moment, is when Christian Rivera took the stand in his own defense and testified under oath his version of what happened, claiming that two men held him hostage. Basically, they killed Tibbetts and left Tibbetts' body in his trunk.
Fox's Matt Finn outside the courthouse in Davenport, Iowa. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office says Sam Cassidy, the gunman who they say killed 9 co-workers at a light rail yard, had a dozen guns and 22,000 rounds of ammunition at his home. America is listening to Fox News.
Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview. All on Indeed. Get your quality shortlist of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Get started right now with the free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Government agencies are once again the target of Russian hackers.
Software giant Microsoft says the state-backed Russian cyber spies that carried out the SolarWinds hacking campaign are responsible for launching a targeted spear phishing assault on U.S. and foreign government agencies and think tanks this week. The U.S. Agency for International Development, in a statement, said they were, quote, aware of potentially malicious email activity from a compromised Constant Contact email marketing account, and that the investigation is ongoing. Constant Contact said the incident is isolated and the impacted accounts have been temporarily suspended. Microsoft did not reveal how many of the phishing attempts may have led to successful intrusions, but the Kremlin said it had no information on the attack. Brett Larson, Fox News.
He refused to participate in sex offender programs, so Bill Cosby will not be paroled this year after serving 3 years of his 10-year sentence on indecent assault charges. Cosby, who's 83, has long said he would resist the programs and refuse to acknowledge wrongdoing, even if it meant serving his entire sentence for the 2004 sexual assault of former Temple University basketball team manager Andrea Constand in his Pennsylvania home. Cosby's lawyers are in the process of appealing his 2018 conviction. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered the keynote speech at the graduation ceremony today of the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, telling the graduates the world is fragile and the challenge is how to mount a modern defense to these modern threats.
A deadly pandemic.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, Jeff, what's up?
South Florida, man, that's one of the best places to go out and have fun. There's nothing like going out shooting a game of pool, drinking a few beers, and seeing some dancing girls. I mean...
Nothing quite like it, huh, Jeff?
Nothing quite like it.
Can't do that anywhere else in the country. Only in Florida. Tampa and Miami.
Well, in most other places in the country, you can't do it all in the same building.
Let me tell you something. South Florida, man, it's especially down in Miami. I mean, that's party station down there, guys. A lot of people don't even go out till around 11 o'clock or midnight. Lulu's Bar and Grill, they were selling these T-shirts. It said, I lost my pants at Lulu's Bar last night.
Lulu's?
Yeah,
sounds
Lulu's.
a little fruity.
No. This is a nice place down in downtown Fort Lauderdale. But anyways.
It must be a nice place with shirts that say, I lost my pants at Lulu's. Come on in. Leave your pants behind.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On July 21st, 2007, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the final installment in the widely popular Harry Potter series, was released, as excited fans all over the world eagerly flipped to the book's final pages to find out if Harry and Lord Voldemort finally
Author J.K. Rowling had already succeeded in creating one of the most popular literary franchises of all time. And of course, much of that success was owed to the expertly crafted sexual tension that steadily built up between the series' protagonist, schoolboy wizard Harry Potter, and the Dark Lord Voldemort. Everyone in the country wanted to know whether or not they would and if they did how many times would they and who would be who.
And that was what happened this week in history. In the words of Mother Teresa, if there is one lesson to learn from the past, it's that no matter what you do, there will always be a bunch more crippled dying kids.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, welcome back. to Free Talk Live. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. That's the phone number if you want to weigh in on anything we're talking about, or you could change the subject. Talk about whatever's on your mind if you like. It's Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
Bonnie, you mentioned during the break that you wanted to talk about something. Do you remember what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so hold that thought for just a minute. I was taking a look at some of our chatters. I try and do this every now and again. I don't remember to do this every night. Somebody says, "Nice shirt, Captain. Thank you. This is one of my favorite rock bands ever. They're called Clutch. Check them out. They've got a whole bunch of albums, and they're really, really good." Let's see what else they have to say.
He only had the nice shirt, Captain, one prepared.
Yep, that's it. That's all I got. Nice shirt, Captain. No, somebody asked, did nobody get out? No, he did not. Bail was denied, and he remains behind bars. Does Mary wanna? I don't know if she does or not. I guess it would depend on whether or not she's attracted to you. Warning, do not try and fight police if you're black. It leads to death, says another chatter.
Don't try to fight police at all, no matter what you look like. It leads to death.
Definitely would have to say I wouldn't fight police even if you're white, because they shoot first and ask questions later.
And the last statement is, the radio talk show host is a far greater threat to expose what kind of threat the government really is. That is what they are afraid of.
That's why the studio's been raided like 3 times by FBI alone. And then
twice, right?
Twice by the FBI, but there was a third investigation involving the FBI and when Rich was arrested for selling.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is the third FBI investigation.
All right. So enough of the chatters. I just wanted to get that out. Bonnie, go ahead.
I want to say that Bitcoin Gandhi, a.k.a. Dave Ridley, has been talking about having a maybe not a zero tolerance, but a 3 strikes you're out policy among libertarians or the libertarian community concerning violent speech.
Yeah.
And today it has been more apparent than ever that is a pretty important thing that people should implement, if not into their friends, because maybe you don't want to police other people. That's usually my objection to it when he talks about it. At least to yourself. Don't let yourself start talking violently, because then you'll end up in a situation possibly where the government puts you in an altered state of mind and then uses your violent words against you.
Yeah, there is a whole topic. You can find more about it on the internet, of course. I believe there's books written about it. It's called nonviolent communication.
Yeah.
It's a cult, right?
It's leading by example, I think, is the best way to, get people not to who may get angry and frustrated and say things that are violent that they don't really intend or mean. And I think it's better.
Oh, yeah. I remember parental units yelling at myself and, other little ones, if you kids don't calm down, I'm going to kill you all. Right. That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I never took any of that seriously.
Right. Nobody would. But, then again, today there's a lot of crazy people out there who would, I guess. But
there were just as many crazy people back then. It's just now we have social media and everybody's got a magic rectangle in their pocket to videotape and take photos of it when the craziness happens.
Yeah, I think the best way to deal with people who speak violently or they speak, in racist, they're acting, bigoted and stuff like that is just to respond with your own speech, right? It's better for people to say, hey, that's not cool. Around people who are maybe upset or angry or, actually bigoted or whatever, than it is to, kick them out. Because if you kick them out, they just go and find their own little groups that are more like-minded people.
That's one strategy. I choose not to interact or do business with people, depending on the person. Now, sometimes I'll interact with people, but I won't do any business with them.
Sure.
Yes, when I was planning on going to Fork Fest, I'm not anymore. I was not planning on going to one food truck because there's a guy that's racist there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I definitely see that. I don't think that's necessarily, I think that situation's not often, that's not often a situation that you can do that because not everybody has a business, but certainly I could see that. But I think talking to these people is still the best approach in the end because, people, they often, they're angry and they're upset, but they don't necessarily mean what they're saying anyway. And getting them to understand that their words hurt other people is better than, locking them in a cage or ostracizing them or, pushing them out of your community.
I mean, I think, if you happen upon somebody and you say your piece about it, right? Hey, look, what you're saying is racist, or what you're saying, I think, is really, you're calling for violence against other people. You're if that happens, that would violate the non-aggression. If you've said your piece to the person about what they're saying or what they're doing, and then they continue being that way, I don't think repeating yourself is going to do any good for that person. I don't think you continuing to say the same thing over and over to them about your opinion of their behavior is going to do anything. So once you've said your piece and you've got it off your chest, what do you do then? For me, I stop interacting with that person.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Dave Ridley was asking on the Shire what's it called, the Shire Forum, and also on the show, what do we think the best system would be to implement? And I think that you're exactly right. Like, first, let them know that you have an issue with them being racist, violent, and
whatever the problem
whatever
may
it
be.
is.
Yeah.
And then after that, like, don't interact with them and lead by example. And also, it's more than just policing your friends. It's also about yourself. If you don't let yourself become a hater and let hate into your heart, then you won't find yourself in a situation where you might be saying violent things, and that it's self-defense against this government. And that a real-world example has been shown to us today, unfortunately. It's very, very sad.
Agreed.
And you don't even have to be saying something incorrect. You could just be saying something the government can use against you.
Yeah. So I also, I'm a huge advocate for freedom of speech. That's why I do this show, right? Because there is no other show like this where I can talk about the things that I talk about in the way that I talk about them, albeit I think I could be much better at it if the FCC didn't have their rules and I could speak like I normally speak instead of sort of half censoring myself because the FCC might, have a problem with it. And, I don't want to, I love this show that so much that I don't want to put the show in danger of being taken off the air. In fact, I want it to grow. And that's one of the reasons that I still continue to do this. Now, that being said, the state could take a whole bunch of stuff that I've said out of context. They could chop up audio bits of me either on the phone with people or through the archives of this show or whatever and make it seem like I'm this bad person. I'm a horrible problem and society would be better off without me. They could totally do that by chopping up audio in a certain way. So that's what I didn't like specifically about what happened today with Nobody's Hearing is that we heard basically the prosecution's worst highlight clips of audio from one single conversation that nobody had. There were no, I almost wish the defense would have presented, clips of, nobody advocating for peace, or advocating for nonviolence, or advocating that, no, it shouldn't be handled in that way, and you're wrong, or the non-aggression, invoking the non-aggression principle, that type of a thing.
I thought that
to sort of contrast against what the prosecution was doing, because it would have been easy enough for them to go and grab highlights that make him sound like he's a super outstanding person.
Here's the thing. I mean, I don't think it would have made any difference, to be quite frank. How it was handled may not have been perfect, but at the same time, even if it had been handled in the most perfect way possible, these guys, the judge and the prosecutor, they're kind of all on. They're coming from it from one perspective. They don't see it from any other perspective.
Agreed.
And they're gonna decide what they're gonna decide. And honestly, I thought it looked like. I think somebody else made a good point where it looked like it was pre-written anyway before the trial even started.
It absolutely did.
The judge's closing statement. Yeah. He was reading.
His decision. Was made before the hearing.
And he was definitely reading it as if it were a script. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. We're a live call-in radio program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about anything you want, whatever's on your mind. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Chris.
And Bonnie.
And I wanted to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started right at the top of the page, Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this very important and world-changing information. If you are a knowledgeable crypto user, you can check out news.bitcoin.com to get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit Bitcoin.com. Now, speaking of Bitcoin.com, I just happen to have a story from them.
Yeah, I was just thinking another great place to learn about Bitcoin is this show. It's where I learned most stuff, and we're about to get into it.
We are. So this headline says, while Bitcoin energy concerns grow, nobody discusses the not nobody, our former host, but nobody discusses the carbon and military violence backing U.S. dollars. And just, I don't even really need to read much of the article to know that the United States dollar has a huge carbon footprint because it is propped up by the full faith and force of the United States military. That's the only place the United States dollar gets its value from.
It's the petrodollar.
It's the petrodollar. It's currently the world's reserve currency. And the reason why nobody will step down from that position is because the United States military is a huge leviathan, and they strike fear into the hearts. It's really difficult for somebody just even a couple of generations ago, let's say World War II generation, or even the Vietnam era, for them to sort of fathom that the United States is now the evil empire, right? If you look at it in terms of Star Wars, the United States is not the Rebel Alliance. The United States is the empire. Joe Biden is currently, either Darth Vader or what's the name of the guy that's
Darth Maul.
The guy they answer to.
Darth Maul.
The guy with the hood, not Darth Maul. The guy with the hood. The Emperor. Yes, thank you. So Joe Biden is the Emperor. If you put a hood on him and gave me and a pointy finger, he could easily be the Emperor from Star Wars. And all of the bases that the United States military builds all around the globe, well, those would be the equivalent of Death Stars.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely the most damage from the environment and the costs and everything else, and the monetary value, that is wasted, to basically create the US dollar is far, far more than anything that's even perceivable when it comes to cryptocurrencies.
Even just the meat industry. The meat industry is a huge consumer of energy and waster of energy.
It's nothing compared to the military, though.
I know, but crypto is nothing compared to that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Elon Musk has ignited a debate because he said, we're not going to accept Bitcoin anymore because, I'm concerned about the energy consumption of Bitcoin. And until, it becomes more green or we find another green coin, yada, 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 this, that, and the other. But what they haven't talked about really is how much, energy is expended banking, Federal Reserve, style. Central banks.
You don't have to drive to a bank to access your crypto.
This is from the article now. It is well known that the U.S. dollar is tied to violence and manipulation that is bolstered by the military-industrial complex. In fact, most people believe the American military occupation abroad, and more specifically in the Middle East, has been kept there to maintain the U.S. hegemony and petrodollar. After Franklin D. Roosevelt quite literally flipped the American economy upside down, global financiers invoked the Bretton Woods Pact, which was the first step in establishing the petrodollar. These days, a great number of economists and analysts have said on multiple occasions that the petrodollar and the U.S. hegemony is over. People should ask if Musk and Dorsey have contemplated the proof of work behind the U.S. dollar and the petrodollar's effects on the global economy. It's well documented that the American dollar's consensus algorithm is backed by violent measures and sanctions, whereas Bitcoin is not. The U.S. dollar has made it so America has been a bully of other nations and feels the need to step in as the world police. But environmentalists have added zero concerns about the U.S. dollar, and they gladly accept it to fund their goals. The founder of Watchdog Capital, Bruce Fenton, tweeted about this hypocrisy on Friday. Fenton said, an M1 Abrams tank uses jet fuel that costs $5 a gallon. It burns a gallon a minute when driving, a gallon every 5 minutes when idle. In Afghanistan, they leave the tanks on all night. The war has been going for 2 decades. Don't at me about Bitcoin energy usage.
Wow. That's a lot.
Well, and there have been other studies, too. I don't know if they're cited in this article or not, that says the United States military is the largest polluter on planet Earth. As far as like carbon emissions, trash generation, all that kind of stuff. Everything you think that would matter to somebody concerned about pollution in the environment, the most of it is generated by the United States military.
It's funny, people talk about the roads, and about how we need government. And
the roads.
It's like the roads are such a time. I mean, they're insignificant when it comes to like the percentage of the taxes that go to like roads. It's nothing. It's the military where most of your money goes. It's not this critical infrastructure or healthcare or any of these other things. It's military.
So U.S. military spending is greater than the total military spending of the next 7 countries combined. China, Saudi Arabia, India, France, Russia, the UK, and Germany. You put all of those countries' military spending together and call that a dollar figure, the U.S. spends more than all 7 of those countries combined just on military stuff.
Wow.
In fact, the price we pay for militarism is colossal, but the U.S. government sweeps it all under the rug. This kind of information is readily available, Street Smart Economics author Martin Hart Landsberg details. The military's contribution to global warming is not. One reason is that because the U.S. government pressure, the governments negotiating the 1992 Kyoto Protocol agreed that emissions generated by military activity would not count as national emissions and would not have to be reported.
And this is only going on, this effect on the environment is only going on because of the U.S. dollar. Starve the beast and use Bitcoin. Crypto.
Mic drop. I'm fully against actual mic drops, by the way. Anybody who does a mic drop has never purchased a microphone. That's all I'm saying. 603-283-6160. What do you think? Is the military the largest polluter on planet Earth?
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. Welcome back to the program. This is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio program where you talk about anything. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Change the subject if you want. You're welcome to, of course, comment on anything we're talking about, and you can do so at 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
We've been talking about this bit from, Bitcoin.com. Elon Musk has made some commentary about Bitcoin and the amount of energy it uses, and that it's not very green. Well, he certainly hasn't looked into how green the United States dollar is, because if he did, he would find that it is far less green than any crypto, than probably all cryptocurrencies put together.
I have to say, Elon Musk, if you want to get rid of your crypto, I am more than happy to take
Elon
it.
Musk?
Yeah, you did.
That's great. I'm going to call him that from now on.
Elon
Musk.
Elon de Musk.
Yeah, what was your point?
He can send it to me. I'll take his crypto.
Oh, yeah.
If he thinks Bitcoin
is get rid of it. He just said
is so environmentally unfriendly that he won't use it, send it to me. I'll use it.
You can send it to me. I have a vanity crypto address that's Captain Kickass at Edge.
Or I got an even better idea. Go to thecrypto6.com and you can make a donation to the Crypto 6.
That is a much better
Even better idea.
Yeah, just get rid of it. It's so bad.
So this article's been talking about the Kyoto Protocol, where they agreed that emissions, a bunch of countries got together and agreed that emissions generated by military activity would not count as national emissions and would not have to be reported. And as a consequence, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which produces one of the world's most trusted reports on the rate at which climate change is occurring, does not include national military emissions in its calculations. That's right. Bite it, Elon. Elon Musk. It reminds me of the meme that I got a hold of and, of course, posted in many places. But
where did you get it?
From the internet, of course. It's a picture of Elon Musk, but it's like those old photos you used to get at like Kmart, where you'd go to get your portrait
Glamour
or the school
shots.
photo, and it was one picture, but it was like a face, front face shot, but then also a side face shot, like a little lower and to the left.
Profile,
yeah. But then he was wearing like a Karen wig, like a Karen, the proverbial Karen, right? The complainer Karen.
A John and Kate +8.
Yes, so they were depicting Elon Musk as a Karen, and so now I figured we'll just call him Ellen.
You got that meme from me, Captain. That's why I'm saying.
Where did you get it from?
The internet,
Twitter. So I was just going straight to the source.
I was joking.
So
don't care.
You're not joking. You're Bonnie. I have a friend who's named Joe, and his last name is King.
Oh my gosh!
I get him on that joke, so he hates it. He hates me for that. Yeah, he's like, "No, I'm only joking." It's like, "Yeah, we know your name, but like, you shouldn't make those kind of jokes, man."
I'm only Bonnie.
Yeah,
it's funny.
At any rate, the U.S. military not only leverages carbon every second of the day, but it also burns enormous amounts of chemicals and trash. When the burn pit story broke in October 2008, explains Kelly Kennedy, the military burned 250 tons of trash a day in an open pit at Joint Base Balad in Iraq.
Wait, and there are like senators and people talking about like how much emissions our car companies are allowed to make, and then they're also like sending people to Iraq and burning 250,000 tons of trash.
250 tons per day. 250 tons per day.
Oh, that's so much.
At Joint Base Balad in Iraq, dioxin, the same Agent Orange chemical notorious for sickening service members during Vietnam, drifted through the air in a black plume to poison the air of troops living nearby. But, no word on that from the environmentalists. No word on that from Elon Musk. On June 24th, 2019, the website theconversation.com tried to initiate a conversation about U.S. military spending and its carbon footprint. The three authors, Benjamin Niemark, Oliver Belcher, and Patrick Bigger, show data that indicates the U.S. military is a bigger polluter than as many as 140 countries. And I just have to stop there because there's only like 200 countries on planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
So the U.S. military is a bigger polluter than as many as 140 countries.
And that's not the U.S. government is a bigger polluter, just the military alone.
Yeah, this is only talking about the military right now, right? So you can imagine, if you add the rest of the government into that, how much bigger it might be.
A bunch of hypocrites who think they should be able to tell us what to do and give us fines for not recycling or whatever.
The researchers' study highlights how the U.S. military leverages carbon-based fuels more than any entity in history. So you look at all history of the entire globe, the Earth, if you will, the entire planet. No one has a bigger carbon footprint than the U.S. military in all of history. The U.S. military is one of the largest polluters in history, consuming more liquid fuels and emitting more climate-changing gases than most medium-sized countries, the researchers' study insists. If the U.S. military were a country, its fuel usage alone would make it the 47th largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, sitting between Peru and Portugal. There is countless evidence that shows the U.S. military is used to bolster the country's currency and keep it in place as the world reserve currency, something I alluded to earlier in this broadcast. Historical records show that the U.S. government's proof of work system for the U.S. dollar was not a fairly distributed peer-to-peer currency system. For 300 years or more now, the global elite has manipulated ledgers and created an immoral social and financial ranking system. Elon Musk and the rest of the so-called environmentalists speaking out against the Bitcoin network should really consider what the U.S. dollar has done and what fiat currency continues to do. Any thoughts, guys?
Ellen DeMuskerus.
Ellen Muskrat. I'm calling him Muskrat from now on. So, yeah, pollution. Can you stop it? Well, maybe. Maybe if you stop using the currency that continues to fuel the largest polluter on planet Earth in all of history, perhaps you can. Perhaps you can make some small contribution. If you really are an environmentalist and you really are concerned about pollution and greenhouse effects and emissions and all of that stuff, I personally think you should be a cryptocurrency advocate.
If you're confused about the connection we're making between the dollar and the military, the only reason that the dollar is the world's reserve currency and has so much strength is because if a Middle Eastern country decides, we're going to take some other currency for our oil that we sell here, the U.S. government swoops in, there's a regime change and war in their country, and they use force to force them to only take the U.S. dollar for oil.
That would never happen, Bonnie. When has that ever? Oh wait, Gaddafi. He was threatening to move back to gold.
Weren't there multiple different
it's
countries that have been invaded by the United States after?
I was being sarcastic.
It wasn't one; it's like multiple.
Yeah, it continues to happen, and again, the other way that you know that the U.S. military and the United States government is the empire, that they're the bad guys, is because bad guys always have the coolest weapons, right? The most dangerous weapons, the most deadly weapons. And that is currently the United States military. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Yes, come on and tune in to this radio program 7 nights a week. Yeah, you can dial 603-283-6160. Talk about whatever's on your mind. We have a call on hold, and we'll get to that shortly. This is Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the captain.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for Forkfest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, but Forkfest is decentralized, which means there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. I can't think of a better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees and find links to the unofficial Telegram, and of course, there's an unofficial forum. Again, you can find all of this at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Come party with the captain. It's going to be a good time. So let's go ahead and go to the phones. We've got Major Payne calling from Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey. Good evening, folks.
What's on your mind?
Well, I'm calling in on a retort. I was talking to Mark a few days ago, and I mentioned to him that I had heard that alcohol consumption had gone up 500% during this up here epidemic.
That was us.
And, I haven't had 500 more beers than I normally do.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I digress on where this information comes from. You know how the bubbles just float around the inner tube.
They do.
But anyway, so I called in and I was talking to him about that, and we got into this conversation about Bloody Marys and how I had known over the years many Olympic quality drinkers, and this was the breakfast of champions for the Olympiads of drunks, so to speak.
I love Bloody Marys. They're delicious. They are the breakfast drink of choice. There's only one other breakfast drink that I really enjoy, and that is a drink I call the Captain Kick-Ass because, you know, little vanity never hurts. I've named it after myself. All it is spiced rum and orange juice.
Sunny D and rum.
It tastes really delicious. It tastes like an orange creamsicle.
That sounds quite tolerable for a breakfast. I also enjoy with my coffee a little Irish cream. That's real good.
Yeah.
There's a breakfast beer. It's like a German one. Of course, the name just escaped me. It starts with an H, and it's like 0.1% or something. I don't know, not 0.1%, but it's like very low alcohol content. People drink it for breakfast. And me and one of my ex-boyfriends used to drink that sometimes. But that's dangerous. You'll get fat for no reason.
But anyway, the reason the follow up on why I called in here was we've obviously ticked off the big giant head, because here in the last couple of days in Michigan, I've heard
that sounds like
on the radio.
It sounds like a festering pus wound or something.
Ew.
Yes. Well, it needs to be squozed too, I think. But the volcanic eruption will smell very nasty, I'm sure. But I digress on all that. Anyway, here in the last couple of days here in Michigan, they've been running this commercial saying that 1 out of 10 Michiganders have decided to abstain from alcohol during this epidemic. So I think we put a dent in their quarter panel, and it just tickles my elmo.
Wow, I seriously believe it. I could see it happening.
What?
They just put that out as counter propaganda for the branch Covidians.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
We're making a dent. You know, they're listening, and we're ticking them off. I love being a burr into the saddle of these bastards.
Well,
I told you I was going to be a major pain to them, didn't I?
You have the name Major Pain, and thank you for the call today. And you are being a major pain in the side of the state, and that's why we appreciate you. Hopefully, we're also a major pain in the side of the state. A thorn, if you will.
I'm not on the side of the state.
No, in the side, not on the side. It's a figure of speech. Bonnie.
Okay.
That was funny.
Have you never had a thorn in your side?
No, not in my side. That's why that's such a weird term. Like, plenty in my hands, not in my side.
Yeah, well, I didn't make the turn up. I just use it frequently. So that reminds me of, when the raid went down, and the only thing I could think of, the biggest middle finger that we could give to the state was to broadcast, put on a show.
Oh, for sure.
And this is the team that was mostly responsible for making sure the show stayed on the air as far as hosts were concerned. So
we didn't.
Kudos to you guys.
We might have lost some stations, but we continued the show.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a much loopier state too. It doesn't even feel like that was
my
me.
God.
There was a time you were doing your best impersonation of nobody.
Yeah. I was up for 48 hours twice that week, straight, 48 hours straight. And I don't know how I kept my eyes open. And
You didn't. You snored on the air.
I did. It was bad.
There was a bit of a snore.
But I went to bed right after the show.
Well, I appreciate everything you're doing for us and have done for us before.
And we'll do again. Because as Ian pointed out the other day when we were talking about all sorts of things, he said, Chris is a doer. And that is true. You do things.
You gotta. If you don't do it, well, you deserve what you get. I don't know. Something.
Speaking of things that you can do, marijuana is a thing you can do. Cannabis has many uses. You can use it, for pain relief. You can use it to help you sleep. You can use it to regain some appetite. If you're on, some drugs that take your appetite away, or you otherwise have lost an appetite, you can use it for recreational purposes.
Dude, do you do weed?
I don't do weed. Weed does me. I'm weed's bitch. No, that's not true.
I forgot you can say that on the radio.
Yeah, I said it and I was like, gosh, I wonder if I could say that or not. Oh, I guess I just did. Ian didn't look at me weird or, reach for the dump button, so I figure it's okay.
The boss is in the room.
Yeah, right?
It's good to have him back. I never thought I'd enjoy having a boss staring over my shoulder every minute of the time that I'm doing my job, but here it is, and I'm glad.
It's funny is the only thing I keep thinking is we're using the wrong word. We're supposed to call him Kingpin, right?
He's my kingpin.
Yeah. So during the hearings and stuff,
I can't call him that.
I know I can't either.
It's
but
just so not fitting.
During
the
hearings for these trials, they keep referring to Ian as the Kingpin,
the ringleader,
or and it's just like
they literally did say Kingpin today, and that's the most hilarious thing.
Right, like. And they also the judge even used during the one hearing the word compound.
Oh, yeah.
So it's tell me this is not just a fabrication or, a prearranged, show trial.
Well, the judge used that, and that was during Ian's
and spectators.
Yep. And Ian goes, I wouldn't use that terminology. No,
I know. I'm like, really? You were actually going to ask and use that word, compound?
Talking about a house next door to a convenience store.
Well, and even on, because I went on the Adam Kokesh, Adam versus the Man. He does a podcast, YouTube thing. Aria's been on. She was just on the other day. Bonnie, you've been on it as well, talking about the Crypto 6. And thanks to Adam for having us on, by the way. I know he listens to this show occasionally. But he even mentioned... when he read the indictment, he even mentioned, he's like, have you been to the house where Ian lives? It's at best modest.
Yeah, he said the same thing to me.
It's like he's not rolling around in an Escalade or a limousine, and he's not living the pimp lifestyle. He's Well, he drives like a regular car that's used and 15 years old. And, he lives in a residential neighborhood that's filled with houses that are over 100 years old.
I think people don't understand that sometimes things sound like a lot of money, like when you start talking about numbers, but it's not. It's millions of dollars doesn't end up necessarily doesn't mean that you end up having millions of dollars to spend, because it's business, it's assets, things like that. And you pull a certain amount out of the business, but you might, that might be when you're talking about $5 million or whatever, that might be 5 or 10 employees. It's not a big
over
business.
5 years.
Right. And especially when you start talking about over a number of years and all these other
10
things.
years even.
Right. It becomes not, it's not anywhere near what people think it is. Yeah. And it's and it's not to say that, anybody is impoverished here, but to make it out as if these are $1 million properties or mansions and it's just absurd. It's not. This is literally a two bedroom house basically.
It's also
duplex.
used as a church.
Right,
and he's just a minister of the funds and uses it all for activism
if anything, if you walked
preach.
into this place, you'd probably be close to looking around and being are these people living in poverty?
It is, how do we say, Bonnie, the Electric Chapel?
Yes, it's the Electric Chapel.
The Electric
Free Talk
Chapel.
Live.
I mentioned marijuana. Coming up, we're going to talk about a California cannabis chain that is accepting cryptocurrencies as payment. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hitting the roads and taking to the skies. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Gas prices and airfares may be higher, but that doesn't seem to be stopping people from traveling this Memorial Day weekend. The TSA says more than 1.8 million people went through airports yesterday.
A lot of the passengers I've talked to have told me it feels like traveling before the pandemic, and hotel and airfare, they're getting closer to pre-pandemic levels as well. The travel booking app Hopper says that you'll pay 12% more in May for your ticket compared to just a month ago, and ticket prices are expected to go up another 4% and peak next month. The travelers we talked to say, though, they're not bothered by these higher prices. They are just happy to be traveling again.
Fox's Grady Trimble at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. This afternoon in Virginia, President Biden gave an update on those vaccinated against COVID-19.
More than 165 million Americans so far have done their patriotic duty. 165 million. And gotten at least one shot.
The president's goal is to have 70% of Americans vaccinated by July 4th, and the CDC has issued new guidance on mask wearing for kids at summer camps, saying fully vaccinated kids can skip the masks. 11 employees with the Harris County, Texas Sheriff's Office have been fired and 6 others suspended after the death in February of an inmate who authorities say was hit in the head multiple times. This morning, the Senate failed to pass a measure that would have created a commission to investigate the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
I'm just terribly disappointed that so many Republicans refuse to even look at a bipartisan, down the middle look at it, because they're afraid of Donald Trump.
But Schumer says he will try to reintroduce the bill. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know that Neil Armstrong learned to fly a plane before he got his driver's license? You would if you watched the series Armstrong on CuriosityStream. Launched by the creator of Discovery Channel, CuriosityStream is the opposite of mindless TV. This is nonfiction entertainment created by award-winning filmmakers, available on any device. Satisfy your curiosity for less than $2 a month at curiositystream.com/Fox. That's curiositystream.com/Fox.
A New Jersey mail carrier has admitted to dumping bundles of mail last year that included ballots from the 2020 general election.
Nicholas Beauchene says he threw away nearly 2,000 pieces of mail in New Jersey trash dumpsters, including 99 ballots that were being sent to voters. NJ.com says he pleaded guilty to 1 count of desertion of mails yesterday in federal court in Newark. He'd been charged with dumping the mail 3 different times, on September 28th, October 1st, and October 2nd. The bundles of mail were discovered quickly after Beauchene dumped them, and they were put back into the mail stream for delivery. Both prosecutors and his attorneys say there was no evidence that proves his actions were politically motivated. Beauchene faces up to a year in prison. In New York, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Microsoft says the state-backed Russian cyber spies behind the SolarWinds hacking campaign launched a targeted phishing assault on U.S. and foreign government agencies and think tanks this week, and says it did it by masquerading as another government agency. Twitter Blue, the paid subscription version of the social media app, appears to be close to up and running.
While it's listed, it does not seem to be enabled. Twitter has yet to give any details or to confirm claims circulating online that the service will have an undo tweets feature. The company recently debuting Tip Jar, a way for folks to send money to their favorite posters. Twitter calling it an easy way to support the incredible voices that make up the conversation. Kristen.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Following the announcement of First Communion, The Holy Spookerist, the first hardcore pornographic movie to be filmed in Vatican City since 1982's classic adult feature Pope Fisters 4, Onion reporter spoke to Herschel Savage, director of the film.
It's a huge honor for me and everyone else involved with this film. This is where they shot Pope Fisters 4. I mean, that movie's a masterpiece. When we wrote up the script, we sent it over to the Vatican to get the Pope's approval and see if he had any notes, but he loved it just the way it was.
The highly anticipated pornographic film, which stars Ron Jeremy as the horny sea himself, Pope Benedict the 69th, will reportedly contain graphic sex scenes filmed in the Sistine Chapel, St. Peter's Square, and the Pope-mobile, among various other notable sites within the Vatican.
Well, actually, I'm just watching a cut of this amazing scene we shot last night where Pope Benedict is gangbanging a bunch of nuns in his bed. And it was great because the Pope let us use his bedroom. Tomorrow we're shooting the scene where two nuns fuck each other on St. Peter's tomb using strap-on crucifixes. I think people are really going to like this movie.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
So, at the end of the previous segment, I had mentioned marijuana. And, of course, we had talked a little bit about cryptocurrency. Of course, the Crypto 6 is, well, that's all based on some cryptocurrency exchanges and that type of thing. And so this is from Bitcoin.com. A California cannabis chain, People's Remedy, starts accepting cryptocurrencies as payment. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, thanks.
I was wondering, like, for a second, like, is that a trick? You can't say hell on the air.
Well, he just did.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm walking a thin line here with the.
But he dumps himself all the time.
I don't dump myself all the time.
I don't think I've ever seen him dump himself.
I have dumped myself.
Have you?
I was
he
reading.
dumped himself on live air.
I was reading something, and I don't remember what the word is, like, shift or.
I think it was city.
Or it was city, and I pronounced it like Sean Connery would pronounce it.
Oh.
And I had to dump myself.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. I think I did it once in like 5 years of doing the show, so I can't criticize you too much.
Yeah, and it was like there are times when I get, we'll say, passionate about a subject, and I get to speaking, and maybe I'm talking loudly and that kind of thing. But this was not that. It was just, you're reading a couple words ahead in the thing that you're trying to get out, and you just make a mistake. So
and now try doing a radio show and a podcast at the same time, and then switching between the two, one where you can curse and one where you can't.
Yeah,
that's even more difficult.
I did that. I used to do that with the what do you call it? The Freer Talk Live, the after shows where I could cuss freely. And I did a couple of those, and then the next time I did the radio show, I think Ian had to dump me. Because I got comfortable in this environment. Right. If I go somewhere, like if I went on your show, I could probably have that degree of separation because I'm in a different environment.
Right.
I'm in a different studio, different microphone in front of my face, that kind of thing. I could probably differentiate that. But if I'm in the same studio and on one program I can cuss and the other one I can't, I'm going to get them confused because I get comfortable in that environment. And so, I try not to do that. At any rate, People's Remedy, this from Bitcoin.com, by the way, a growing chain of cannabis stores has started accepting cryptocurrencies as a payment method, allowing their customers to use them as a fast, easy way of getting their products while taking advantage of the traits cryptocurrencies bring to the table. Unlike other stores, People's Remedy assumes this symbiotic relationship between cannabis and crypto as a commitment, wanting to build a circular economy by paying its employees with crypto assets. So it's not only accepting cryptocurrency, it's paying its employees with crypto assets.
What are crypto assets?
Different,
just crypto?
Yeah, different cryptocurrencies. People's Remedy, it's a California-based cannabis chain. We've said all this already. They're being redundant. With 4 stores in California and still growing, People's Remedy products are designed to help those with medical ailments. So they're a medical marijuana chain that can be treated with cannabis, offering the best strains and compounds available. However, is the interest in new technologies that sets the company apart from other similar stores. The company trained each and every one of its employees in the use of cryptocurrencies, even making its own manual for this purpose. Nice. Activating all of its 22 cash register terminals to accept Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Litecoin, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and Bitcoin Core. However, they really like the Bitcoin Cash network due to its low fees, allowing customers to purchase products like a $4 pre-roll without worrying about paying more than the product's price on transaction fees.
Wow, $4 pre-roll.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, sure does, doesn't it? I do miss, that's if there's anything that I miss about Seattle, it's that I lived in a neighborhood where there was a legal weed store literally 3 blocks down the road. And not only did they have, the regular marijuana, but they had all sorts of different, they had edibles, they had drinkables, they had stuff that you can mix in stuff. They had, it was amazing. I didn't even know that, like, some of the stuff they had, I'm like, I didn't know you could do that with marijuana, stunt people doing marijuana stunts. They had like the Wake and Bake Club. So if you came in early, because they'd open at like 9 a.m. on, Saturday and Sunday, they had like the Wake and Bake. They had coffee, the little carafes of coffee and that kind of thing. So you could come in.
So
and
there
get
is coffee flavored weed like we're talking about on She Talk Live.
Well, no, they didn't have that.
Oh, it's weed flavored coffee.
No, they just had coffee.
Oh.
So like it's called the Wake and Bake Club. So you can get up early and come get a discount on your marijuana and get a cup of coffee while you're in there. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not weed-infused coffee.
No.
Okay.
No.
They need to step up their game.
Well,
their customer
they
service.
did have something that resembled weed-infused creamer. So if you wanted to put creamer in your coffee, you could do that and get your buzz on.
Well, that does sound like weed-infused coffee. Just it wasn't
That
the coffee
would be,
part
yes.
itself.
But like you couldn't mix it in the store. You could get your cup of coffee and then you could buy the thing, but like you couldn't put them together while you were in the store.
Oh, that makes sense because the law is about like being in a store doing it.
Right. Yeah. At any rate, John Williams, tech manager of People's Remedy, stated that smart people use technology to make their lives better. And People's Remedy does tech better than any cannabis business. I can't believe this is coming out of California.
It's interesting how we have more and more people getting into, or industries getting into the whole cryptocurrency world. What was it? A couple weeks ago, we had a story about how a bank actually started dispersing cryptocurrency.
There's been a few of them that have not only looked into it, but are developing ways to implement cryptocurrency for themselves and their customers. So it's not being ignored. It's just that folks are reluctant to roll it out because, well, it's still in its infancy. But it's those people, we call it the first movers advantage, right? This happens in every new technology, right? The first movers, the early adopters, right? That's another tech term. Yep. Early adopters are the ones who see the most benefit of technology when the technology is new. And it sounds to me like the guy who owns this chain of, it's called People's Remedy in California, this chain of medical marijuana stores is an early adopter. He meets the definition for sure. He is going to see the benefits of this technology before others in his industry do.
Oh yeah, we've even just in Keene, like you think it might be a big business that would really see the benefits of it, but it's actually a lot of small businesses that are seeing the benefits of it. We had there's this place called Foking Great in Keene, and the owner was telling me about how there's people coming in now all the time that are not like part of our little crypto community trying to spend crypto, and she's getting questions, and it's like because you have to have there's something called AnyPay, and they use that to accept crypto, and people are coming in with wallets that don't support it. So there's like these questions that are going back and forth, and but just by random people in the community. It's great. It's a really great thing.
So People's Remedy belief in cryptocurrencies doesn't end there. While they do use AnyPay, we've talked about them. They're a former sponsor here on Free Talk Live, a third-party payment processor to take care of cryptocurrency payments. The store plans to keep the payments received in cryptocurrencies as a vote of confidence in the longevity of these instruments. Williams stated in this regard, they had absolute trust in this technology, vowing to hold as many of these coins as they can.
And that's very common. That's most of the people in Keene and New Hampshire who take cryptocurrency are holding onto that cryptocurrency. They could cash out, but what we found was they're not, and they're holding it.
Derek Horton,
or spending it.
Derek Horton, AnyPay's CEO, spoke to Bitcoin.com News and said this was one of the key motives that enticed them to work with People's Remedy. And we can talk more about this particular chain of marijuana stores in California accepting cryptocurrency payments. Here on Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. More on the way.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Andy and Renee Spinella, Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, the studios of Free Talk Live. The Crypto Six were arrested, most were released, but Rich Paul, also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman both remain in custody. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed, but that didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges. But as importantly, contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Help our fight for liberty and financial freedom at thecrypto6.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. We're a live radio call-in talk program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your mind. The telephone number here in the studio, 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. If you'd like to call, the phones are open. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
We've been talking about this article from Bitcoin.com where a chain of medical marijuana stores in California have begun to accept cryptocurrency payments. I mean, on one hand, I can't believe it's taken this long for this to occur, right? The technology to accept cryptocurrency payments legitimately, you know, in a POS system, all that kind of thing, even without one, has existed for years. And so for a chain of, well, any kind really, to adopt something like AnyPay to accept cryptocurrencies as a form of payment is long overdue, in my opinion. Now,
well, AnyPay has made it real simple.
They have.
I think it's like the first in its
there are a couple of other companies but there's not very many. I think there's two top ones. There might be a couple other ones that are trying to compete with the two top ones.
You know, I can kind of understand these industries and the companies in these industries positions. I mean, it's kind of like the banks. You know, they're highly regulated. You know, and they don't want to make themselves a target.
Well, I say this because the states that have legalized recreational and medical marijuana, or one or the other. Usually it starts with legalizing medical first, and then they move on to legalize recreational. It's the progression that we've seen in all of the states so far. But it's legal at the state level, but it's still illegal at the federal level.
Right, which is why they don't want to make themselves targets.
Well, but they have really not a lot of choice because banks won't touch them. Banks will not touch the cannabis industry in the same way that they would provide services for a restaurant or any other business. I don't care what your business is, right? Banks will go ahead, open you a business bank account, a merchant account. They'll provide you with like credit card services, all that kind of stuff. The marijuana industry has to have all sorts of workarounds, and they end up paying extraordinary fees for just doing something like taking a debit card, right? And so it eats into their profits. In addition to that, the government, at every level, at least in the Washington state, where I lived for 22 years, would take about 20% at each level of the operation. So they had a license for growing, they had a license for distribution, and then a license for retail. And no company could have more than one license.
Yeah, you know,
and so for those three entities to interact with each other, I thought was a natural win for cryptocurrency. If the distributors, the growers, and the retailers, just whenever they needed to pay each other, would interact with cryptocurrency, I see that as a win for that particular operation. Now, maybe I'm a forward thinker, but I can't be the first one to have thought of that. But I think that it's a natural win for the cannabis industry to adopt cryptocurrency within the industry itself. They don't even and this particular chain is offering it to retail customers. So they're accepting cryptocurrency from their regular customers. They're not just doing business within the industry itself. They're, accepting it from their patients.
Yeah, it seems like, they say we have capitalism, and yet when most of the money goes to the government, you have to wonder, do we really have capitalism?
Fascism. Yeah. The government can tell businesses what to do.
Right.
Correct. It's still a market. It's just not the free market.
You think the idea would be to profit in capitalism, but if they're taking all your money, is it really?
Yeah, the idea of the business owners is to profit. The idea of the people taking money who've never contributed anything positive to any of these businesses is their motive is also profit, but they want to take it before you're profitable.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's like even under communism, they had currency. It's not like I don't know. Just the whole thing is just so insane.
It's a setup. It totally is. So at any rate, Derek Horton, the CEO of AnyPay, said, "I knew it was a match right away because they actually want to keep the coins. Too many people contact us and ask to convert to fiat. Boring. We only want to work with people who want to keep and use the coins for business." People's Remedy vision of the future includes paying its expenses, that's what I was getting at, and employees' wages in Bitcoin Cash. So these can also use them to pay for their expenses, helping to create a circular economy where the cryptocurrency earned gets spent without turning into fiat currency, bringing adoption a step higher.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't know anybody outside of New Hampshire that is actually being paid by an employer in cryptocurrency, but in New Hampshire, I know dozens and dozens of people.
Right. Outside of New Hampshire, I'm aware, I don't know if I know anybody specifically, but I'm aware of people who will have their direct deposit from their employer set up to go to something like Bitwage. If you're familiar with Bitwage.
Not quite the same thing.
Right. But they take this, on themselves.
Right.
To split their paycheck, a percentage of it.
Yep.
Gets immediately transferred into cryptocurrency via the company Bitwage. And then it goes in, and that's sort of their dollar cost averaging strategy to get that done.
It's really great to see this is expanding beyond New Hampshire. It's for years and years and years. New Hampshire and Keene and Portsmouth in particular have been like at the capital of the crypto world. But now it's kind of slowly we're seeing this starting to spread outwardly, around the world and other places where people are getting paid in crypto. People are spending crypto. I've seen just over the past couple of months, I've seen a dramatic rise in people and businesses in Keene and around here. I've just seen such a dramatic rise in the number of people using and spending crypto. It's an amazing thing.
Right, because you accept crypto at your business.
My company takes crypto.
What's your website?
It's thinkpenguin.com. We've seen an increase in people spending crypto through our website. We've seen I've seen people seeing it. I've seen an increase, or I've heard of an increase from businesses who in Keene have taken crypto from their owners, telling me that they've seen a increase in just people spending it. I mean, and again, like people not in our community. So it's not people who are just ordinary, just ordinary average people who are coming in and paying with or are trying to.
One thing I love about my job is we take crypto. So I can always point that out to people and explain to them like kind of what it is. And nobody other than people from our community have actually paid me in crypto. I'm like the cashier.
Really?
But nobody that I've never met before has ever paid me in crypto. But I'm always pointing it out to people and at least like planting the seeds. I'm evangelizing.
It's good. We like it. Keep doing that.
We have little stickers that say like you can pay in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash here and Dash.
Well, now you haven't been working for the Mighty Moose Mart that long though. So.
Yeah. I haven't worked there very long, so.
I think that it is beyond time for businesses to begin accepting cryptocurrency, if for no other reason than to stop the perpetuation of endless war.
Yeah, my job is kind of activism in that way.
It really is. It's seriously
a great job, I have to say.
Thanks.
603-283-6160 is the number. Do you have a business and do you take cryptocurrency at your place of business? More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
College roommates continue their bonding process until real friends are made, and a teacher hopes they never Google him. It's time for the weekly video feature that's heartier and more comforting than a heaping bowl of mom's butternut squash soup. This is the Onion Week in Review. Longtime James F. Blaine Elementary School teacher Suzanne Pomponio told reporters today that she could not believe how much fatter her second graders are getting. Pomponio estimates that each and every one of her kids must be 8 to 10 pounds heavier than anyone in her 2011 class, adding, quote, "and those kids were pretty fat too."
Honestly, I didn't think it was possible that this year's kids could be fatter than last year's, but they are. I mean, short kids are fat, tall kids are fat, and there's a smell. I don't really know how to describe it.
Local dad Michael Carrain navigated several discount travel websites today with a precision reminiscent of 18th century Viennese prodigy Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart composing a symphony.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to Free Talk Live. The telephone number, if you'd like to call, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Chris.
And Bonnie.
We've been talking for a little while about a cannabis chain in California, of all places, taking cryptocurrency now as a payment method from their customers, their patients. And I've been saying it is beyond time for that to happen. I'm glad that it's happening. I'm beyond ecstatic that it's happening. I think it should be happening more. I think if you have a business, you should look at taking cryptocurrency, particularly if you are anti-war. If you don't like war, the only way to stop paying for war is to stop using the war dollars.
Also, if you're anti-inflation.
That too, because, I mean, as we're seeing, the prices of certain things are getting ridiculous.
And if you're worried about Bitcoin's recent dip it had, well, Bitcoin is going to be more valuable the more people that use it and integrate it into their business.
Yeah, it's true. This is actually this is the time that you actually, if you were not into crypto already, this is the time that you want to get into it because
it's on sale.
It's on sale,
yep.
Right? Like I wish I had more cash and I could buy more crypto.
Yeah, it's really weird how like when Bitcoin was at $52,000, that everybody was in a rush to go buy some. But now that it's at, 36,000.
Don't buy it at its height.
Yeah,
don't buy it when it's 60,000. Buy it when it's down.
I know it's weird. It's so weird, but it's It just goes to show, and that's how like viral stuff works, right?
Yeah.
It's always, it gets really popular amongst the masses and it's hyped up, and then everybody goes out and tries to get it. Doesn't matter if the price is high or low. It's the hype that they buy.
And the crazy thing is, like, it got up to like 20,000, and then at some point it was like as low as $6 again. But what happened after that? A couple years later, and it's at $60,000 now. It's not probably going back to 6, but it's not surprising that it's at 34.
Yeah, and people think that it's a dramatic dip, and of course all the usual
naysayers.
The naysayers, like Bitcoin is dead. Bitcoin has been dead hundreds of times. There's entire websites dedicated to tracking the number of
media.
And the number of times the mainstream media has declared Bitcoin dead, and it's not dead. It's not even like the biggest percentage dip in Bitcoin's history. It's not even close. But it's just because the dollar figure is so high now that it makes a more sensational headline. When you can talk about $30,000 to $50,000, that sounds way more sensational than the dip that happened between $3,000 and $5,000.
I know, like such hard times. One Bitcoin is only $38,000.
Yeah, you know what's funny is there was this little old lady at one point that was coming to crypto meetups, and she was
she from Pasadena?
Let's not go there. But no, she wanted to get into crypto years and years ago, and it wasn't really that long ago. It was maybe 2 years ago. I'm thinking 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago at most. And but she wanted to put her entire life savings into crypto, and the rest of us were thinking it's probably not a good idea because at that time I think it was like around $20,000.
Right.
Well, she did put her money, a little bit of money, into crypto. And the other week I found out that she's filthy rich now.
Nice.
It's now,
Heck
but
yeah.
what she didn't do the stupid thing where she invested everything in mortgage or property to do it.
Right.
She got in small and she waited and she was patient and she didn't, throw it away and
put a little bit in on a regular basis.
Right. Now she can actually retire comfortably, as opposed to before she was really stretching it if she would even be able to retire, really.
Yeah. That's great. Do we have a segue? I'm calling for a segue.
It's so hard to segue into Scientology's secrets spill open.
Well, we've been giving away
rape case.
We've been giving away Bitcoin secrets on how people have invested and that kind of a thing. So perhaps now you can tell us about the secrets of Scientology.
Well, it's one church gossiping about another church on Free Talk Live. Scientology's secrets spill into open in Danny Masterson rape case.
Ooh.
This is the Los Angeles Times. The Church of Scientology works hard to keep its inner workings out of the public eye. It has hired private detectives to keep tabs on straying members, and experts say its lawyers vigorously defend against legal incursions, arguing to judges that Scientology's beliefs are not courtroom fodder. But at a hearing last week in the rape case against actor Danny Masterson, church officials were unable to stop their practices from being debated in open court. 3 women took to the stand to recount sexual assaults allegedly committed by the celebrity Scientologist, and each told similar stories of how church officials tried to stop them from reporting Masterson to police. One woman testified that a church official instructed her to write a statement showing she would take responsibility, that's in quotes, for a 2001 assault in which she alleges Masterson raped her while she was unconscious.
Wow.
Another woman who was born into Scientology and planned to report Masterson to police in 2004, a year after she said he raped her at his Hollywood mansion, recounted how a Scientology attorney showed up at her family's home. The lawyer, according to the woman, warned that she would be expelled from the church if she went to authority.
Just people abusing their power privilege, right? But
I mean, people who seek power they seek organizations, and so churches and religions, they have structures, and so where do you go? That's where you go.
I think that taking the power out of institutions is a very important thing.
Absolutely.
The focus on Scientology during the preliminary hearing, which stretched over 4 days and included lengthy discussions of internal church texts and doctrine, wasn't lost on Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Charlene Olmedo. In ruling that there was sufficient evidence against Masterson to allow the case to proceed toward trial, Olmedo concluded that Scientology has an expressly written doctrine that not only discourages but prohibits its members from reporting one another to law enforcement. The policy explained why several of the women did not report Masterson's alleged crimes to the police for more than a decade, the judge found. Okay, now I'm a little thinking about this, and this could be an article written and this whole story could be fabricated to keep people who don't report to the police under suspicion. You know, if you don't report to the police, what are you hiding?
Right. Yeah. Well, people don't report to the police because they're afraid. They're afraid of many things, but they're afraid of being aggressed upon by whomever violated them in the first place. And then, of course, they're afraid of not being believed, or they fear some sort of embarrassment. News is going to get a hold of it, or their family is going to find out, and they're embarrassed that they allowed such a situation to happen in that kind of a thing. So
yeah,
that's just based on some counseling that I've done.
It was a type of public dissection that is unusual for the insular, enigmatic institution. The church, which counts a number of high-profile actors among its parishioners and operates a celebrity center in the heart of Hollywood, has long been accused of going to extraordinary lengths to keep criminal allegations and other claims of wrongdoing in-house, experts said. The activities of Scientology have been so much a part of the evidence that's being put forth as to why these women were not immediately going to law enforcement, that it sort of brought the dirty laundry out to public view, which is exactly what Scientology does not want to have happen, said Mike Rinder, the church's former top spokesman who left the faith in 2007.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way. What do you think about these types of occurrences within religions? Give us a call. More Free Talk Live is next.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive.
It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
The final segment is underway of tonight's edition of Free Talk Live. If you've missed any of our program tonight or any of our programs on any night, you can visit freetalklive.com and find all of our episodes. They've been being posted up there for over a decade. And you can go back almost as far as you want to and listen to all the back episodes. So if there's ever a segment that you missed an hour. Some of the stations that broadcast this show don't broadcast the entire show, or they broadcast it when we're not actually live on the air. So please use freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
And Chris.
And Bonnie.
We've been talking about this case featured in the Los Angeles Times about, Bonnie, you, during the break, realized who the defendant is.
Oh, yeah, Danny Masterson is Hyde from That 70s Show.
Yeah, so if you guys have seen That 70s Show, this is the guy who has become a Scientologist and is, well, being accused of some very bad things. And we'll talk more about that. But first, I need to say thank you to Venkman. That's Venkman. Venkman is a platinum-level amplifier here at Free Talk Live. What does it mean to be an amplifier? Well, AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And if you head over to amp.freetalklive.com, you can find out all about the amplifier program. Venkman gives, I believe is it $25 for the platinum level? And that's per month. And this money goes directly to help this radio program get on more radio stations. It doesn't go anywhere else. Doesn't go to my beer budget. Doesn't go to Chris's Think Penguin. It doesn't go into, Bonnie's makeup fund. It goes directly to help this station or this radio program get on more stations. So if you've enjoyed what you've heard on Free Talk Live, if you enjoy the hosts, the co-hosts, if you've learned something, please consider becoming an amplifier over at amp.freetalklive.com. Thank you, Venkman, for being a platinum level amplifier. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So there's a couple of different articles that the LA Times has published about this. And while during the break we were talking about this other article suggests that the Church of Scientology works very hard to keep its business out of the public eye, but church officials were unable to stop their practices from being debated in open court as the women took stand against Masterson. So I've known people in my life who have become Scientologists.
Wow, not me.
And it is an interesting change. Like I mean, people talk about similarities between religions and cults. And I mean, I don't know if there's really any difference.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I don't really know that there's any difference, but I can tell you that the cult-like behaviors, at least in the people that I've known, were certainly evident. The one person I'm thinking of is particularly, started cutting off all their regular friends that they've had. They cut off some families, stopped talking to their parents. The church then, sort of became their community. And that in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just the fact that everybody else got walled off out of their life.
Yeah, then they have no other support group to go to if the cult starts abusing them.
Right. And also to the lack of discussion because I'm an inquisitive dude. I like asking people questions about what are you doing? Why are you doing that? How come? And so I would ask these people these types of questions. And instead of answering the questions, it would turn into a recruiting session. In other words, they'd be like, well, we can answer those questions if you come and attend this thing, come and, become part of this thing. And then, and I never would go because that's not something I would participate in. But it would happen to other people too. And other people would ask these people those same questions instead of answering the questions about the process, about what their religion does, what kinds of things they do, how they do them, what kind of rituals do you have, what is your congregation like, what does your church look like, all these kinds of questions. It would turn into a recruiting session for them to try and recruit you into their religion.
In Mormonism, it's called sugar before salt, because they want to tell you everything nice about the religion first and get you enticed and get you kind of in it before you learn the crazy things. It's true. They really call it that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that would be the case for any group or organization, though, to some degree.
Well, though the church, and this is again from the LA Times, and I think this is a follow-up to your article, Bonnie. It says, though the church is not accused of wrongdoing in the case, and it is not involved in the proceedings, and then in parentheses, Scientology representatives strongly deny that its policies discourage reporting crimes. And then it goes on to quote, it seems like Scientology is going to be central in this case because the women allege that church doctrine prevented them from reporting the assaults.
In the last article before I stopped reading, I read through it a little bit more. It said that Scientologists call American law WOG law, W-O-G, and apparently WOG is their term for muggles, in Harry Potter, people who are not Scientologists apparently are WOGs, and so they refer to the law everyone else has to follow as WOG law.
What's a WOG?
It just means a muggle, basically, not.
What's a muggle?
Oh, in Harry Potter, people who are not magical are muggles. So they're an average. That's that's a prole to them. And
okay.
Scientologists call it,
I just wonder if WOG was an acronym or something.
I don't know. I didn't see the explanation of why they use that word. W-O-G.
That's pretty much all that this other article says about the church itself. But, I mean, do other churches, procedures, the rules of their religion, do they prevent people from reporting aggression?
Well, I would say that in our church, there's no rules, and that's what I like about our church. It's religious, and I'm religious, but you don't have to believe the same things I believe to be part of the Shire Free Church.
Well, you do. I mean, there's 3 core tenets.
Oh, there's tenets. You don't have to believe every religious thing I believe. I believe
right.
Everything's God.
What are the 3 core tenets?
Was peace, liberty, and
freedom.
Well, liberty and freedom are the same.
Yeah, it's peace.
Church
I mean,
peace?
It's effectively peace.
I don't know if
peace,
it is
love, and liberty, right?
Core tenets.
Peace, love, liberty, perhaps?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, those are all good things. But I question any religious organization that would discourage people from, standing up for themselves in any way, shape, or form, whether that's reporting, aggression committed against them, particularly something, as something like rape, sexual assault, that kind of a thing.
I don't necessarily know that I would say that it's. I think discouraging people from reporting non-violent offenses to police is, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to, why I brought up the Shire Free Churches.
I don't even know if like violent crime, like ideally you wouldn't be reporting it to the police either, and you would be solving it through, I don't know, some other way, because when you get the police involved, things usually get worse. Like they don't get better. So it would be one thing if like the police made things better by reporting your violent rape, but that's not what usually happens, right? You go to the police, you get, berated by the police. Maybe they will take a, some
Rape
sort
kit.
of, they'll give you some sort of rape kit or whatever, but maybe they won't. And even if they do take it, it's not like they follow up on it most of the time. So
yeah, the pile of rape kits waiting to be tested continues to grow by the day.
Right. So it's like one of these things where it's like, I don't necessarily know. Like, is that really ever the answer?
And that's the issue with the monopoly on force that the police have. There should be an easy route for women to take, maybe not an organized route, but there should be another option other than you have to go to the police, and if you take matters into your own hand, jail.
Right. Yeah. There should be something, sort of in between that somehow.
But not talking about rape. While I was gone, my car got egged, and I didn't report it to the police, even though my roommate reported his to the police, because I didn't see how getting the police involved in, tracking down these teenagers was going to make my life any better.
No, it wouldn't. And it's just going to make somebody's life worse. And it's like, for something so mild in the scheme of things, why would you? I mean, I understand that they did a little bit of damage to your vehicle, and that's not good, but going after it using violence is just gonna it's like so over proportionate or disproportionate,
especially using the enormous force of the state.
Asking the people that kidnapped my boyfriend for help also wasn't on my
like seriously.
Yeah. We are out of time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to my co-hosts here. This has been Free Talk Live. Thanks. Peace.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection?